So this is part 3 in the series of how to make Hamantaschen. And it seems like it's been going on for a long time, and now you'll understand why people buy Hamantaschen instead of making them. But there's no comparison between the ones that you can make yourself and the ones that you buy in the store. So the first episode was all about making fillings, and the second episode showed you how to make the dough, basic oil dough in the Cuisinart. And now I'm going to show you how to roll out the dough, how to cut the circles, how to fill them, and how to bake them. And that's what the fun is all about, and that's the part that people like to do with their children. And I would say that if you're going to make them with small children, get your filling ready, get your dough ready, and then go to town with the kids. So, okay, I'm ready to go, and the first thing I'm going to do is turn my oven on to 350. So there we go, 350, warming up. And now I spread out my, I don't have granite countertops or marble countertops, and I like to work on an old-fashioned cutting thing that actually came from Tupperware. So they sell these things now too, and it's a guide for rolling out dough. It's a good surface for rolling out dough, and that, between that and wax paper, I'm all set. So here we go. I'm going to take the dough that I just made a few minutes ago, and I had it in the fridge just long enough for me to clean up the kitchen. So you can see that I washed up the Cuisinart bowl and everything, and now I'm ready in a clean area to start with my dough. So the dough, as I told you, is quite sticky, quite sticky. Here it is like this, and I'm always going to have some flour on hand. And I make a little ball, a little pile of it like right there. I think I'll put this dough back in the fridge to keep it there while we work on it. So this is the other half, and that's what I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to sprinkle it out. And I'm actually just going to get it off the wax paper like this. It's kind of soft. Just going to knead it a little bit soft. And I'm going to put all this flour here. Now, Hamantaschen are a kind of funny thing. You only make them once a year, so sometime between one year and the next you forget how to go. So I hope I remember everything, because here we go. I'm going to put the wax paper on like this. I'm going to take my rolling pin, and I'm going to roll it out gently, just like you roll dough. And get it to be quite thin. 1/4 inch. The thicker it is, of course, the easier it is to work with, but then you have, the whole concept is the dough to filling ratio. And you want it to have you don't want so much dough, so little filling, or so much filling that it oozes out of the dough. So now, I'm going to peel back the wax paper, which is sticking a little bit. You don't want it to stick, so I'm not going to use this one again. And I have a wonderful offset spatula like this. I'm going to flour it, and I'm going to make sure that I can get at it, that it's not sticking to my cutting board. And here I am. And I'm just wondering if I want to roll it just a little more. I think I'm going to take a fresh piece of wax paper. If you remember, I'm the wax paper queen. I'm just going to sprinkle it just like this a little bit. Roll this just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And I can see lovely flecks of the orange peel in my dough. I like that, because that's what gives the dough a nice citrus feel to it, citrus taste. I'm peeling this off, and here's my dough. And you're not worried about the shape it's in. You're not making a pie. You're cutting out cookies, so you're not worried how it is. Now, the big secret that I'm going to tell you is that the size of your Hamantaschen are based on the size of your cookie cutter. Now, a lot of people think that they want a 3-inch cookie cutter. If you have a 3-inch cookie cutter, you have enormous cookies, enormous. And you'll get so few that you'll wonder, why did you bother? So I have a favorite size. It's this one. It's about 2.5 inches. That's a good one. And I'll even go smaller. That one's 2 inches. And I have a variety of them here because I've inherited a few. This one is also 2.5. And this one, these ones have crinkly edges. And you can use different sizes for different fillings, and you'll see how you go with it. But I do have a favorite size, and I'm going to start with this one. And you know, in the olden days, people said, "Oh, I just used a cup. My mother used a cup." Well, I'm not a fan of that. You want to have something with a sharp edge, because you want to cut the dough and leave a sticky edge where you cut the dough, so that when you pinch it together, it sticks. And I think that with a cup, you get kind of a sealed cut, and I don't think it's as good as that. So I'm going to dip my thing in the flour, and I'm going to start cutting. All right. And every so often, I'm going to go back to the flour. And this is how it's going to go. Now, this isn't a TV show. This is me at home, so I don't have an editing facility, so you're going to have to watch me do this whole thing. And obviously, you don't want to recut the dough or re-roll the dough many times. You want to get as many as you can in your first rollout, so that you don't have to re-rolling the dough, you know, toughens the dough, so they say. Now, I have a friend who tells me that she didn't roll her dough out. She would take the dough, she would take a spoonful of dough, and she would punch it, flatten it into a circle, fill it, etc. And then she's not re-rolling dough. I can't imagine this system, so I'm not doing that system. I'm doing my system, and there I am. So now I peel away. It's a lovely soft dough here. Peeling it away. My dough is just as I would like it. Peel the edges all away. You're going to use this dough again. You're going to use all your dough over and over till you use it all up, so you can't look at it anymore. Now, Hamantaschen, people really love home. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Sometimes they don't like your filling, they like their own filling, but everyone loves it. And it's a traditional thing to give as a gift. And who wants to make 10 Hamantaschen? You want to make 5, 6 dozen Hamantaschen, and then you have what you need. So I'm going to take 2 little teaspoons, and one is really a little one, it's a baby spoon, and I'm going to start with my prune filling. Now, if you remember, we made the prune filling, and we made the apricot filling, and I have about 2½ cups of filling here in this Tupperware container, and I'm going to make spoonfuls of it like this, and I'm going to put them kind of off-center in the dough, in the circles. Move this to the side so you can see. And if you've rolled your dough just right, then this kind of baby teaspoon of filling will be just right for this amount. Now, everyone has a different system. And I always made mine closed. You had to guess what the filling was. Then I realized people make them open. So some I try to make open, so you see the dark filling or the light filling, and it's how it is. About the dough, so this is a basic oil dough, and we say that because I think it has a lot of other purposes. It could be the same dough that people use for making mango bread or knischbroit, or in the world of biscotti, and I think other purposes. But you could make a dough with butter, and then they call it a cookie dough, and then it handles differently, doesn't grow, doesn't stretch, but also delicious. Okay, so you can see that from rolling out that section of half that batter, in my first go round, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 hums to go, and I'm going to pinch them together. And this is the key part. I'm going to pull this part up like this, and then I'm going to pull this part up like that. And I'm going to try to make it an equilateral triangle, not an isosceles triangle. Try not to have long noses. Try to have even triangles. So bring it up, one edge, a little extra, one edge. And of course, the first rollout of the dough is the nicest. It's It's not overworked. It's not dry from too much flour. And then you just lay them on your cookie sheet in a way that, what's the matter with me then? Can you see how I'm doing this? I hope you can see this. I'll move this a little bit here. And I'll lay them on my cookie sheet. And after I've done this first 15, I'll show you how I brush them with an egg and sugar wash, and that'll make them shiny. And now you can see that I have closed ones. You can't tell that these are pruned. So let me see if I can try to make some that stay open. Okay, so I'll do them like this. I'll still pinch the front and bring the other one up and leave a little center that you can see what it is. Can you see that? And then that's called like an open style. But just make sure that your edges seal, pinch and seal in a triangular way. Now, I think putting the filling off center helps to get a triangle that's an equilateral triangle as opposed to that isosceles triangle. You know, you want it to have be equal. All right. So I'm leaving them open a little bit. And I'm hoping that the filling won't run out of them when I leave them open. So that's why you don't want runny filling. Somebody told me that she made her filling, that she cooked her prunes or cooked her apricots kind of into a jam. And I thought, oh, I don't do that. I grind them up like you saw on the first video in the Cuisinart. Now, I didn't have a Cuisinart when I was first married. They weren't popular or hadn't come over to this country yet. The first ones came. They were French, the Robo Coupe that they called the Cuisinart. And I got one in 1975, I think. And there were things I never made till I had a Cuisinart. You know, even though I like to make homemade stuff, there's stuff that I was not prepared to do when it was really such a production. And I probably didn't make Hamantaschen then, but I think at that time my mother was still making Hamantaschen, so I didn't have to. So all you girls out there, if your mothers are still making Hamantaschen, you get a pass. But sometime there'll be a point when you have kids, or you just want to do it, and there you go, you'll figure it out. Now you don't have to put them too far apart because they're not really going to grow too much. You'll notice in the other videos, I was not wearing an apron. But the reality is you cannot do this if you're not wearing an apron. You'll have flour all over everything, yourself particularly. So there I am. Today is March the 14th. Just to keep chatting here, I'll tell you that the reason Purim is so late this year is this is a Jewish leap year with a second Adar, the month of Adar. Purim comes in the month of Adar, and most often it's in February. But because the Jewish calendar is a lunar calendar and doesn't quite coincide with the English calendar or even with the rotation of the earth, I guess, every once in a while, and you'll have to check your books on this, maybe 7 years, I'm not quite sure, we have a leap year. And they stick a whole extra month in there, a leap month, and this year, 2014, which I can tell you coincides to, I have to look it up, what it is in the Jewish calendar, I have to look it up. We have an extra month, and that's why Purim is so late, and that's why Pesach will be April the 15th. So, I've been making Hamantaschen for a long time, and of all the things I bake, this is the thing my husband Ken really likes. I send them by FedEx to kids who are away at school, to husbands who are away on conferences, and I think people like them. I do get requests. So some of these have open tops and some of them don't, and we're going to see if the ones with the open tops hold their shape or if they're going to ooze out in a way I don't like. So, I'm not crazy about this one. Let's see. So if I would tell you, I would tell you that the dough is about 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe. And you know what? Not everyone's going to be perfect. You know, you gotta be open to having some different ones. See, so now that's the first 15 are done, and now there's another step to it. You think you're done and not. So what I want you to do is take an egg and crack it into this bowl, like this. And I'm going to take the sugar, and I'm going to add just a tiny bit, maybe a teaspoon of sugar to it, like that. And I'm going to beat it with a fork, like this. And then I'm going to take a paintbrush, and I'm going to paint them. And that's what's going to give them a nice glossy top. And I'll tell you, you can buy these paintbrushes in every size. And if you have a, you know, let's try this size. So we're going to dip this, and I'm going to paint them. And that'll help seal your edges also. So, and it'll give them a nice glossy coat. And otherwise they'll have a kind of a flowery coat, you know. And they'll also, this will keep them sealed. So I'm going to get them nice. So, you know, it is a picky business, but, you know, they're special, they're a treat, they're good, you know. And this is the #1 recipe. Now, I don't know why bakeries can't get it right. When you buy them at the bakery, they're enormous. They probably use a 5-inch circle. The dough is thick, and the filling I don't find so tasty. And yet people say, oh, how yummy, yummy, yummy. Well, sorry, that wouldn't do it for me. And there we go. So these are going to bake in a 350 oven for about 15 to 18 minutes. I'll change that after I've done my first baking and see how I feel about how they're done or not. You want them to be like golden brown and starting to brown in the bottom, you know. And I finish this video and I tell you how many I got, and I pack them up and show you how to give them as gifts. I'm going to take this video and I hope that I will put it on YouTube. And all my nieces can see, my nephews, anybody who wants to know how to make Hamantaschen, Winnipeg style, Winnipeg family style. Okay, so that's my first 15, and there's no trick to it now. We're just going to take the rest of the dough. I'll take more fresh dough, and then whatever cuttings I'll have, I'll roll them with the other cuttings so that the cuttings don't keep getting rolled and rolled again. And those are the first 15 prune. And you can see I haven't quite made a dent. I'm going to get quite a few out of these 2 things of filling, and it's going to be great.